Well, Don, I will tell you, that this is why we were here today, because like I said, it's important to be able to let the community know your story, Carol's story, and why we're doing this. Bringing the Vietnam Memorial Traveling Wall into Carroll County is important. We have seen what it means to our Vietnam veterans alone to welcome them home. Now it's time for them to be able to, those that can't go to DC, to be able to see the wall and be able to start their healing process. It is also our opportunity as a community to reach for the teach. We need to let those children know, and the community at large, when they look at that wall, that they see the over 58,000 names of those that served and sacrificed, that they understand, truly understand what it meant. And that is touching every point. That's the you, that's the Carols, that's the everybody's out there who served. That is the purpose that we're bringing this event to the county in October. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Don and Miss Kathy, for having us in your beautiful home today. Really are very grateful for you taking the time to share about you. Today is about you and about your companions.
It's a pleasure to have you all here. And you'll have to understand, I'm not used to being the center of attention. And we'll do the best with what we can. And that's how we'll get through it. Certainly the pretty ladies help. And I can't notice anything this side of the house, so I'll have to go to the pretty girls. But it's nice, and I appreciate you. And I was always a guy that took a step backwards when it became for attention and giving other people an opportunity. And if you guys bear with me, and there's a few things you're very sensitive that I can't handle, but maybe it'll reach out to somebody else that's got the same situation I have. Mm-hmm. And getting over it it takes a while. Mm-hmm. And I've been to a lot of different places to help me, and a little at a time. I think maybe before my day's gone that I'll be able to get through that. So thank you for taking your time.
We're here for you. We are here for you.
Thank you.
And I know you've had some wonderful conversation with Carol Smith, our Vietnam veteran.
It doesn't take long to make a friend.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
If you just want to introduce yourself, tell us your branch of service, your rank, and your experience, military experience.
My name's Don Jestes, and I was born and raised in Ellicott City, Maryland. Proud of where I was. I served in the Army, and I was a forward observer in the 101st Airborne, and we served in the HL Valley, which was up near the DMZ, and it was different, and it's hard to tell somebody about it, but if you ever watched a Tarzan movie as a kid, they put us up at north where it was nothing but the jungle.
Okay, can I do it now?
Yes, can you do that? That'd be great, because that was going to be, I'm leading into that. Thank you. That was a request I was going to make.
Oh, you're a handsome young man.
You did not go over to Vietnam as a handler, correct?
I wasn't. I didn't go to college. I couldn't afford to theoretically work my way about getting drafted and getting on the bus and riding down to Fort Bragg, actually is what it was, Fort Bragg. And I started at the bottom and worked my way up. And we have a new program coming, and maybe good guys would be interested. They call it gentlemen right then. I don't know why.
Don, you're funny.
Step up here quick before you hear what I have to say. If you're interested in something like this, and they put me down next to a whole row of cages, and walk up and look and see if you any that you make friends with. And this is one looked like a bear with big teeth, and I said, I can't get near this animal. He will eat me alive. I was still a little then too, and I decided, you know what, this is going to be interesting. And they just started a new program up, and in the era of electronics, how is a dog going to fall into that? But they had a program where they, at that given time, they were looking into electrifying animals with hearing devices, seeing devices, and electronic devices that would let the handlers and the team realize that there's something out there that shouldn't be out there. And over the period of time, it was obviously, they said a couple thousand people immediately. It got into the ranks of a soldier and saved lives. I said, you know, if I need to do anything.
That's good. We have
That's
we
my
have a
dog,
bark in the
Mandy.
background.
You can't live without one. It's like a Volkswagen. The few things that they could remember from their civilian life was their dog when they were a child. And it worked all the time. We would jump on a helicopter real quick, and they would call my dog to come up front, and in between the two pilot seats was a console. My dog would sit there, and they would drive my helicopter with one hand, and I don't know how they did
And
it.
pet the dog with the other?
With the other.
Oh my gosh.
And it got to the point when we get out of the helicopter, whether it was a combat zone right there or not, you'd hear somebody on, you know, Mandy or whatever dog I had at the moment. That dog would just dart out the door, go towards whoever was calling back, and that dog and that guy just took the minute and just made it their own. And you didn't get that much. You couldn't get that in a letter all the time over there. So
basically the dog was therapeutic to you guys, but also served its purpose.
absolutely.
So tell us more about that.
So they knew that they see a dog team coming in, that we're going to have a good night tonight because the dog's going to watch over us. And if we went out on a night defense listening post where you would go out, well, half a mile down the way, and you'd sit on a mountaintop, wait for somebody to start in your direction, and you'd warn everybody else back near the base camps that there's movement. And of course my dog would sit there, and all of a sudden his ears would go up. You knew you were in trouble. And not just me, it was everybody, and we counted on that. And my dog would jerk on alert, and that would just startle me into, you know, instant reaction, and I'd make sure that those people out there didn't go by without being seen. And it was a team, and the dog was like having a relative with you. And sometimes they would get in the wrong place at the wrong time, and they would get hurt, and that hurt everybody. But after my first dog, Rebel, which I had for probably most of my active time there, he and his handler, which I gave my dog to at the time I was getting ready to come back home.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, they went into a booby trap that wasn't anything left of either one of them. And it was tough, but so was war.
Now, is that Rebel there in the picture?
This is Rebel, not you.
In the picture.
Don't worry.
So that's Rebel.
We have biscuits too.
So tell us a little bit more about Rebel. How long did you have him? Tell us about his personality. Tell us all about Rebel. Because clearly you were proud of Rebel.
I had a dog that I picked out of the kennels at Fort Benning, and he was new. He had not been in combat before, and I was taking him to the field, and we were going into an area where I had never served in before. Matter of fact, it's my first trip to the field, and it was to an area that was highly infested with enemy Viet Cong and a lot of NVA soldiers. So I had to pretty much work my way through it because I didn't know what to do. I mean, the dog alerting on troops and alerting on equipment and booby traps, well, that was common. But until you met up with the first couple of either of those, you're scared to death. And I went out, and we went out into a hedgerow, which they had a lot of in Germany during the Second World War, and we weren't used to those because they were hedgerows that would be going horizontal and vertical across the desert, and every now and then there'd be an opening. Well, my dog kept alerting, and I said, something's following us, or something, we're following something. So pretty soon the hedgerow broke open, and there were, I think it was seven of the enemy, waiting to ponder me and my dog, and my slack man, which again, the guy was protecting me with his weapon in case it was more than I could handle. And we got into a firefight, and my dog got a little out of control, and that took all the attention away from anything else and put it on me from the enemy. So they centered on me, and which was okay, but I calmed that down, and we withdrew, and we got everybody back, and nobody was actually killed, and we got out of it with a lesson learned. And I said to myself, I said, that dog and I just aren't working together, so everybody's going to be at risk. And if you don't pay attention to orders, then you know what the only choice is. There's a place down in Benoit, which is a prison. We send all the people that fail to go to the field, we send them there. And I said to myself, come on, I got a family at home. I'd rather go to prison than to go home empty like that. Right. And I got another dog, and I gave them the opportunity to say, look, this dog isn't what he's made up to be. So they sent him down south to be reprocessed. We did, and Rebel worked out wonders for me, and I don't regret that. If it wasn't for a scout dog, a German Shepherd, I know that I wouldn't be here today. A member, a partner, we'd never forget it, and that's why I'm here today, and that's why a couple of people I was with are with today. So we pulled through it together, and young guys, you got the best part of your life left. Don't get caught in the rut. Just walk on out of it. You did once, you can do it again. And there's a lot of good people like these folks that do care, and don't give up, because you've just become a number statistic. And they're going to lose you, but you're not going to be on the battlefield. You just have to come home and regroup and rebuild. And that's about all I can say. I wasn't a hero, but I did save a lot of lives in the process of saving my own. So everybody did the job right and did it to their best. We all got on the plane to get back to the United States and make the best out of it. And that's all we can do. And to be proud to be an American veteran, I don't know of anything any more promising in life for me than that. Like I say, I was never rich, but I had a desire to do better and do good, and put that all together, and you got somebody that's determined to make a difference, and he'll never forget you. So just come back and get some help from people that know how to give it, and a step at a time. And other than some health matters, which I didn't get shot at to give me those health matters, but I've had a lot of shots to get back on my feet, and it's a step at a time for me. Because when we first come home and got our feet down and came back in December, we sat down at Christmas time. I told my future in-laws that, well, where'd you get that beautiful tan? I was in Florida. I wasn't in Florida, but I made it home. And then he come to realize that, I had just gotten off the airplane from Vietnam, and they weren't understanding the whole process of that. And it was a learning procedure for the parents. And I just feel so bad for the parents, because, I could turn the corner and sit down and get my anxiety over with. I didn't know what my mother and father were doing at home, but it had to be horrible. And I just think they ought to be recognized as well, but in their own way they are. But it was a terrible, terrible thing for them to go to bed and not realize where their sons or daughters, where they are or how they might be. So.
You're absolutely correct. Carol and I just met last week, a gentleman who served over there, and he was talking about he came home on leave for a break, and he was with his mom and his dad. He was in the center of them, and people would just come up and just spit on him and spit on his parents, and that's just not what we do. It's just not what we do. But it was horrific for you guys, not only over there, but when you came home.
And I just wish people would try that today. World War II veterans, God knows how they worked their way through that. But our grandparents, our uncles, and so forth, and aunts that went through that period of time, they had to be supermen and women. And
Absolutely.
quickly we were to forget. But not me, because I just looked at it and said, I want to do that. I want to be there. And there was a time when I was being shot at, and I said, this is what it's really like. And all my years of playing Army as a kid, I said, ooh, that's the way it is. And I just kept going. When you're out there and you've got 4,000 or 5,000 people trying to kill you, and you didn't have much you could do about that other than just bear down and try to live with it, or die without it. And we did. And I think some of the most graduated soldiers in our period of time came through the Vietnam era, and I'm proud of all of them.
So what type, okay, we're going to circle back to the dogs, because I know the community is going to want to hear about Rebel more and the dogs in the program. So were they typically German Shepherds?
No. Anything that would work up to the qualities of being a little nosy, puck-nosed little dog that would, every time a mouse would run through, he would do this. Well, that dog was extremely alert and not noisy, they didn't bark all the time, they didn't bite anybody, they were very quiet. And the thing to sneak in, 4,000 or 5,000 meters into enemy territory without being heard or seen, that's what we wanted. And the ones that were more mellow and less aggressive are the ones that made it and made a better dog.
Really?
And of course, they got in with a group of guys that we'd usually go out for a week to 10 days, and they would all kind of group around. The dog would become a pillow for one of the guys at night, or his helmet would become a feeding pan. That was our family, and nobody violated that, because we knew that we needed that as bad as anything or anybody did over there. And when I got off of the helicopter, my dog would jump down many times. There was news teams there, and I never want my family to see that, because they didn't know what I was doing, and I kind of kept it away from them, because it would have killed my mom. And so I would say, Rebel, come on, get out there. And then somebody out there, Rebel, come on. And next thing he would run out and dart out there, and there were two buddies together, and they needed each other, just like coffee needs cream and sugar. And it gave them something to live for.
Sure.
Even if it was that dog and their girlfriend, thousands of miles back home, they were thinking about, but was no way that it would come about,
Right.
And that's why my wife said, we stop talking to people, and I can't stop, because I know their pain, and it goes deep, and it doesn't go away. It doesn't go away with the sunlight either. Nighttime is a very hard time for me, and I tell my wife, come on, let's go for a ride. Let's go get something to eat or drink or whatever, because at nighttime I would have to pull everything in and protect the house, protect my family, make sure everybody was in their place. That was my job, to secure everything down, getting ready for what could be a miserable night for all of us. And thank goodness to my wife. And it's not easy. And for those poor people, and I say people, I mean kids. When I was 18, doing some of the things that I did at 18, I don't want my son to even look at it. And let's just keep it going that way. We don't need to expose our kids to violence of war, because we can do something about it.
How old were you when you went over?
I was 18.
You were 18, okay.
I was 18. Let's see, I was 18, yeah. When I got there and got into combat, I was just going into 17. And it wasn't easy. But then again, I looked next to me, there's another guy just like me. It wasn't easy. I said, come on, we can do it. And we didn't have a choice. And we knew what the options were. So you wanted to get home in one piece. And there were several occasions where You know, when you hear a click on a booby trap, that's when it's too late. When you hear the click, it's done. You're going home. That's why you kept your head and your brain clear and kept going forward. Because you got 8 or 9 people behind you that wanted to do the same. So together we all pulled it together, and we all became scientists at that point in time. We were very smart at what we did. And some of the greatest scouting teams there were in the military at the time. We're here today in this country enjoying all the good things that there is to offer.
Amen.
I'm proud of given the opportunity to tell my story, and it's not good. It's not good, because he's going to go on the rest of his life, and suicide has become very, very prevalent amongst high contact combatant troops in Vietnam, with people like you all. They pardon the expression, just give it a little bit of a damn. You don't know what these guys went through. When you look overhead and you think there was somebody coming to take you out, and it wasn't, we all got washed with that Agent Orange crap, and we're paying for it now. That's when you think life is going to be at its greatest. You can afford everything you want in life, a new car, whatever you wanted. You had money coming out of the military. Well, most guys didn't get a chance to enjoy it. By the time they got settled back at home with a decent job, they were coming down with a multitude of different types of cancers, and go to the hospital and start the procedure. You get in the hospital, you can't get out, and it's like jail. But they're doing their best, and our government has been terrific to me. I've spent a course of time, probably months in jail. No,
I was going to say.
it felt like jail, but they were doing their best to save me, and I'm here today because of the VA, which were great people to me.
So you were saying about Agent Orange. So I'm assuming while you were out in the jungle that you were sprayed, right? Were you? I'm assuming you were sprayed with Agent Orange?
I kept a ledger of what happened to me during the day, the whole year actually, and the officers called back and said, guys, we're lucky tonight we're going to have a flyover. They're going to spray us for mosquitoes, and that'll keep them off your back tonight, and you'll get a good night's rest. And enjoy it, use it, and go from there. Well, I looked up and I saw 2 C-130 cargo planes going over, and it wasn't anything that we were used to. It was a red coloring of some kind of a liquid, and I said, this isn't right. But I went down and got on the little streams that we had running through the jungle, and would leave a film of oil on top. And we would drink the water, we would eat our food that we were making up at that point in time, and we would rub it in to keep the mosquitoes off. Well, that wasn't the game. They were spraying us, and they're trying to keep us quiet. Not that there was a cover-up. It was good for us. If you'd ever been in the jungle at night and thousands and thousands and thousands of mosquitoes are trying to get into you. Most of my guys, in the age of the late 70s, we would come down with these problems. Skin rashes, carcinomas. I've had about 5, 6, 7 different kinds of cancer, which they're fighting for me now. And it's tough because it takes a long time to find a cure for that kind of stuff, because they didn't even truly know in the beginning what it was. None of that. War is not fair. It doesn't go away. And I don't think it's necessary any longer. We're too civilized, and we should be, but maybe we can be.
Absolutely. So tell me about, how did you maintain Rebel's health?
I carried his food and water. I carried 6 quarts of water, and needless to say, so did everybody else. But they were a lot of them a lot bigger than me. And I would feed him. We had Gainsburgers and a special formula of different foods we'd feed the dog. And then if something happened and the dog was injured, we'd have to call in a medevac just like we would for a soldier.
Really?
And to be honest, they would get in line in order, and the dog would would hold his place, and he would go right back down to our base camp down south to the veterinarian hospital, and we'd go through everything from having, well, one of our dogs broke a tooth, a canine tooth. We had a gold tooth put in, and that did a lot because it told the other people, look, that dog's got priority from you. You know you're going to get the best treatment there is. And they would fly them directly back to the hospital down in the south part of the country, down in Benoit. And they would stay there during the entire course of time, and so would the handler.
I was just going to ask, so you were with him if he was injured?
Yes.
Okay.
But however, the dog would get on first. So we made that clear, and that told the story to everybody.
Totally.
Look, you know, because that dog is a dog, don't think they're going to put you second in line. You're going to wait your turn, and then whoever needs the most immediate care gets it, but you're all going together. I've had friends that I carried, they carried their dog who collapsed from heat almost 3 miles in 100-degree weather, day and night, to get the dog back into our base camp so we could get him to the hospital and get a blood transfusion. Yeah.
So then you only had the one dog outside the one that you had to get back. Rebel was the only one you had during your time?
No, I got rid of the one that almost got me killed going through that hedgerow.
Yeah. And what was the name of that dog?
God, didn't even want to remember.
Oh, okay. I respect that.
That's bad.
That's okay. That's good.
I told him, I said, look, I'm not going back out in the field with this dog again.
Yeah.
I'd rather go to jail. I'd rather spend a life in jail than no life at all.
Yeah.
And so they understood that.
Yeah.
And I was given Rebel. Mm-hmm. And when I was working towards the end of my time, Rebel walked into an ambush, and of course with the handler I gave him to, and I felt very sure this is one of the best dogs that's here right now. And I thought, you shouldn't have a problem. Well, the guys that rallied behind Rebel and was watching me go down the trail, and all of a sudden there was a mine exploded, and the only thing that was left of my friend was his rifle, which was hard plastic. The M16s were made out of plastic, and that was all was left on the ground, and everything else was blown away. And immediately they loaded up the remains of Rebel, and they took him down. I took Rebel down in a crate down to Saigon in a crate, and had the dog autopsied to see if the dog had any physical problems. And you wanted to take care of those problems before you give them to another handler.
Right.
And
so he survived? Rebel survived? No, he did not.
Nobody survived.
Nobody did.
Nobody did.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And that's what it was all about. But the people that were there watching Rebel walk into this ambush, they said, look, Don, we knew that the dog knew what was up there. By following you in the past, the dog alerted in plenty enough time for us to maneuver around everything and clear it. Mm-hmm. But he was so new. If you live a couple of months in Vietnam, walking point with a scout dog, your chances of coming home are better than most people's, because the dogs were great with what they did. Mm-hmm. And I'm proud to say we took the dog down, and they sent the dog through an autopsy to see if he had any kind of a disease or anything that impaired him from being the best he could be. And from the last I heard, no, the dog was fine. Mm-hmm. But it could have been he was overworked. We didn't know. It was hot out. It was 100+ degrees. And we were going 5 and 6 days at a time with triple canopy jungle. And we just had to do it and had to go with it. So.
And what does triple canopy jungle mean? What does that mean?
Well, that's where you could go out into the jungle and walk down the trail, and all of a sudden it's daylight, it's noon, and it gets dark, and they call in the engineers to bring chainsaws and lanterns, and they would chop down all these trees so we'd at least be able to see a trail or work with the dogs properly.
Gotcha.
And it was 3 layers of greenery, and it blocked out all the sun.
Oh.
And
so you had to wear headlamps or something through there, or was that dark?
It would get that dark. They brought in lamps, lanterns. A year ago.
Yeah.
Didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anything about living in a jungle. They had worms, looked like fishing worms, they're like that long. They looked like snakes to me. And I said, "What the heck is that?" And they said, and they pick it up and threw it at me. I said, it wasn't a green snake, which was the ones that were deadly. And they were just long worms. And there's so many things like that we had to get used to.
And how did the dogs know? I guess they were just so trained not to disturb any of that. They were trained to hear, to see, to smell a specific thing, correct?
Well, I mean, a mild alert is this.
What is that?
A mild alert.
Okay.
All right. If you're laying there with the dog under your arm and all of a sudden he does this, when you run, run doesn't help. Do you hide? You can't hide. What you do is you get in touch with everybody else in your patrol and you try to maneuver around what you think is a hostile enemy, and you eliminate it. And whoever in the government, wherever, said it's estimated that scout dogs saved an average of 10,000 lives during the course of time.
Right.
And did we know that? No, we only witnessed the fact that the dog eliminated walking into an ambush that could have taken out 10, 15 guys or more. And so you went with that. And everybody would come up and go, "Good boy, good boy." Aww. All right, they loved the dog loved them. It was a team. So
your body language, your voice, the level of your voice really was key to that dog. That connection was real.
Absolutely. I could be standing there and I'd go like this. When I see the dog laying on the ground, looking around, I said, "What is it, boy? What is it? What is it?" And all of a sudden he'd go like this. And I would know over there, and I would call the people from behind, "Come on, let's put some fire in here and see if we get any reactive fire." And you send in, pat, 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 over in here, pat, 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 pat. I said, "Wait a minute, we eliminated something here, let's go get it." And you call in an airstrike. "Stand back, guys, we're going to light them up." And then the dog was a hero, and that made
he got an extra treat that night.
Well, they got to get on the helicopter that night.
Got on the helicopter. And they did not mind the whoop, whoop, whoop sounds, and they were just numb to all of that.
No, they loved every minute of it. They knew that they were going back in. The guys were going to open their mail, and usually there would be some kind of treats in there. Everybody enjoyed them, including the dogs. Don't let the dog down, because he was one of us. And he was one of the entire crew. I mean, when I could tell my dog to come down the trail, and I go like that, back up, and he'd go back up the trail and clear the trail for us.
Really?
And if there was somebody up there setting up an ambush or the booby traps, the dog would just kind of sit down and look around like this until I caught up with him. I'd say, "Okay, go, boy," and he'd get back on the trail and go.
So
they were really effective. If you had guys that lived in the jungle with these dogs and the dog teams, they said so amazing. They could read these handlers' facial expressions, could almost read their mind. And he knew, that dog knew when something was wrong, really wrong. And I would go, "What is it, boy? What is it? What is it?" And he'd go like this, just trying to get my attention. If there was a booby trap or something in the ground, my dog would come back and bite my shoe, take my shoe, and keep me from walking forward.
Wow.
And I'd go, "Wait a minute, what's going on over there?" And then I'd call up my slack man, which a guy would walk behind me.
Okay.
And in the event of a firefight, he would carry heavier weapons to protect me while I was trying to protect everything else. And that's how it worked. And it's hard for you to believe that, and it's almost like, that's more political bullcrap. But no, I could tell you that, and it saved my life many times.
I believe that.
And that dog would come back and lay his ears down on the trail. "Don't go any further." because you're not going to go home that night. You're going to be not sitting up for sure. So you paid attention. The dog could read your mind. The dog could read my voice. And it was a game. You had to learn how to play it, because if you didn't, you'd learn the hard way.
Yeah.
They'd start shooting at you, pinning you down. A sniper would pin you down, and then they'd wait for you to try to get away, and they'd shoot you. So what did you do? You just listened to the dog. And that's why a friend of mine wrote a book, Walk Where the Dog Walks, because they won't walk over a booby trap or through a booby trap without letting you know. And they were everywhere, because that's all the enemy had to do was build booby traps and wait for the Americans to come. And we weren't quiet. I mean, we would send airplanes, we would send fire teams, we would send everything in the world to eliminate them, but meanwhile they're still digging underground, waiting for you to show up.
Did Rebel have to go underground?
No.
You did not have to. I mean,
No.
he did not. No.
No. One of the fresh lieutenants said, we got to the lieutenant said, hey, going down there, I said, sir, you don't understand how we work. I'm not going under that tunnel with my dog. I said, you'll go because the dog will go. And he looks at me like, who am I talking? You know you're talking. No, sir, that's the way it is. And the Army says dogs don't go in tunnels. I mean,
So they never went in?
They may have gone in.
Okay.
No, not normally. You don't put a dog down in the tunnels,
Oh, is
because
that
they
right?
weren't trained. There were so many things underground that they didn't know about, that they weren't trained with. We trained originally, and this is kind of a unique story, and it's true. The Green Beret was a big movie back when we were ready to go in over that, and they kind of made a rallying point around that. Well, they sent us one time, we were doing booby traps into the main hooch that the village people owned or lived in on their post in the jungle, and they sent us in there to find all the booby traps that they had left. And well, what had happened, we went in there and the dogs weren't trained like they should have been, so they popped the booby traps, and before it was all over with, they burnt the village down, and we had to leave, and they came back later and rebuilt the village for the movie. So, that's reality. Our government spent everything they could to make it as real as possible, to do everything they could to help us back, and that was reassuring. So I'm here, and I never thought I'd be sitting here.
Did you ever encounter any punji pits?
Yeah, I've got about a 7-inch slice out of the back. I threw my rucksack down, and I collapsed because I was so tired and thirsty I couldn't stand it anymore. And when I got up, I had a slice out of my leg where a punji stick had gone in. And of course, there was so...
What did Rebel do when that happened?
Well, if you see, I don't know where the picture is, he's got a slice out of the front of his leg as well from that.
Rebel did.
Yeah. There's certain times when certain tribes would do different things. Okay. And a lot of them would be to set up punji sticks on angles, and they know when we got off the trail, or if they ran into let's see, how can I say this to be correct? You get so tired when you get a chance to break, you would just throw everything over to the side of the trail and just collapse.
Pass out.
And well, they would set the punji sticks like this, and they would start shooting at you. Next thing you know, you would jump on these at an angle, and they would go in, and there's nothing you could do about it. I mean, all you could do is be medevaced out and be sent to the hospital, and the bacteria rate was so high that it would start growing before you could do anything about it.
Because did they dip the sticks in poison or something? Is that what they did?
I'm sorry?
Did they dip these sticks into poison?
Yeah, about the only poison they had available.
Is that right?
Yeah. No, the poison was usually they would into their own feces.
Oh, what they did. Okay.
And in the matter of 20 minutes, your hand could go from this to that, because there's no way to stop it in that 100-degree weather.
It's almost like it was worse than a snake bite.
Well, yeah, the snakes are very, 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 very prevalent. And of
But
course,
that would be worse with that stick.
they wouldn't be able to get you an anti-venom
Yeah.
as quick as they could get you something to kill the bacteria.
Gotcha.
And a lot of the medics would look at it and they didn't know what was on it, so they had to take blood tests and get it back down
Oh.
to the hospital, down at the lab. And by that time, your chance of losing your hand or losing a part of your body was on its way.
Wow.
And snake bites, they had a lot of unique snakes there, and I didn't see a bunch, but I seen enough. And they would, in the tunnels, they would load the tunnels up with snakes. And as you try to sneak in through the tunnel to get by, the snakes would be so ready to protect themselves that you wouldn't have a chance of getting in and out without getting bit.
I'm not sure if I remember telling you, but my uncle flew 3 tours in Vietnam. And I remember as a small girl seeing him, and I remember the Black Panther tattoo, and yes, the girly tattoo, but I remember the effects of Agent Orange. He got kidney cancer, and my dad's sister gave him a kidney, and it rejected right away. He was given another kidney, rejected right away because Agent Orange just kept killing it. And the VA says, we want to do it the 3rd time. He says, I can't do it again. I cannot do it. So he died at 54 as a result of Agent Orange. His job was he flew the Hueys. He flew the supplies in. He brought the wounded out. So yeah, it's real. And I just don't even know. I mean, we'll circle back to what it did to these animals. What did it do for Rebel? I mean, he was in the thick of it as well, and all the other dogs out there, right?
That's a truth. And he came down with a rare disease where
He did?
all of them did. All the animals we had there.
Really?
And it was called IHS, and what it was a rare disease to red-blooded animals, and the scout dogs were one, and the tracker dog teams, which were basically the same or the other, they would come down with this disease, and all of a sudden they would start bleeding through their ears and their nose, and that's why they wouldn't allow any of the dogs to be sent home. They had to be euthanized down South Vietnam and destroyed down there because they're afraid if it got back into the livestock or the animal environment here in the States, it could destroy everything that we depend upon in our food line.
So once they started showing signs of that, then that's so sad, so sad.
They would lay down on the ground, and all of a sudden they would start bleeding through the nose. Then they would start bleeding through their ears and hemorrhaging, and they would bleed out. And we didn't have that right facility to do the lab work, to do anything there. So you put them on a medevac and send them back down to the lab downtown.
So then you as a handler would accompanied them?
We would stick with the dog, yeah.
Okay.
We knew we had to do with what we had to do with, and pilots, they were our greatest friends. I mean, if you got shot and you got hurt bad, they'd throw you on and take you down. If your dog got IHS, they'd wrap him in a body bag, keep him quiet, take him down. And many times, everybody working together. And we knew that we would never leave anybody behind. And it could be us one day. That's the last word. Get it out of here. It could be me the next time. You better hurry quicker than this. Well, kind of a joke at the situation, but that's what it was all about.
Again, this is part of our awareness, right? We need to know these things. I understood, and it could be incorrect information, that when the war ended, the dogs were left behind, those that were healthy, but only a few of those were allowed back in. What can you tell me about that?
Well, the dogs stayed in custody within the veterinarian, and all of our medical units were veterinarian that tended to the dogs. And Kathy and I went to battle with this because they were even taking dogs that weren't affected by anything and holding them back and not sending them home with their handlers. And they weren't violent dogs. They weren't sick dogs. They weren't a threat dogs. They were just the right arm to the handler that kept them all year in one of the countries where they served. And we went on National Public Radio and explained to the public, what this did to families. And now they can bring them home after they go through a testing period. And the children are being raised with the dogs, and they become a family. And just like my dog and my family here.
Was she a ward dog, or was she a ward dog?
No.
No, she was. She was just.
She was a replacement.
She was a replacement dog. Okay.
She was
'cause
my
she's
dog.
and you needed her.
I'm sorry?
Have her come into the picture.
Oh.
I think she would like that if she wants to.
Come here, Mandy.
Daddy's looking for you.
She would not hurt a soul.
Daddy's
Nobody,
looking for
unless they were
you.
hurting us. It's your major.
Do you have a treat? Daddy's got a treat for you.
I don't have one.
He doesn't have a treat?
Mommy's got a treat. Go get it, Mandy. Get Mommy's treat.
Dawn, do you have any things that you want to share about your time, about Rebel, about anything? Because we're about ready to wrap this up because you've done amazing.
Oh, no. Don't say that.
You did. Don't be bashful.
Look,
Yes.
over, like President Trump would say, the front row.
I was just wondering, if it's all right, what kind of breeds of dogs were there? Because you said German Shepherds weren't.
You know, what kind did we use primarily?
Breed.
Well, they went through a training period, screening period in Texas with the Air Force.
At Lackland?
Yeah.
Okay.
And as you know, they would use them as sentry dogs, which would, when they see somebody walking up over the horizon, they would get processed into another line of being a tracker. Primarily, shepherds fall into the middle of that. They weren't loud all the time. Sometimes they could be trained separately. Bloodhounds were good. Tracker dogs. What else did we have? If you look at Rebel, he has kind of a curved tail. Reminds you, he's a little bit of a husky, and yeah, but toning down enough. They're great dogs. They're very energetic, very alert, and we got a lot of them. And God, that girl is pretty with that red dress on, isn't she?
Well, Dawn, I will tell you, that this is why we were here today, because like I said, it's important to be able to let the community know your story, Carol's story, and why we're doing this. Bringing the Vietnam Memorial Traveling Wall into Carroll County is important. We have seen what it means to our Vietnam veterans alone to welcome them home. Now it's time for them to be able to, those that can't go to DC, to be able to see the wall and be able to start their healing process. It is also our opportunity as a community to reach for the teach. We need to let those children know, and the community at large, when they look at that wall, that they see the over 58,000 names of those that served and sacrificed, that they understand, truly understand what it meant. And that is touching every point. That's the you, that's the Carols, that's the everybody's out there who served. That is the purpose that we're bringing this event to the county in October. And your piece that we've just talked about now is going to be part of that exhibit to create that awareness. I thank you so much, sweetheart. It has been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you as well. Carol, pleasure meeting you.
Yeah.
And gosh, I forgot your name.
Angelica.
Angelica.
And wow, that's
It's appropriate.
approached. Thank everybody that takes a few minutes and stand back and watch what has happened, and just don't let it happen again. Okay? Wars hurts everybody. Hurts everybody.